Good morning, everyone. How you doing, VIP pre-market prep? Got a couple ideas today. Right now, the market's semi-stable. We're in the bear market rally number 2, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the Qs, SPY, and ARC, except to be careful and look for signs of a top on this bear market rally. I pointed out several resistance levels the other day, so we will kind of alert you when we think we're near there, but 50 DMA is a big one over there. I think there was one before, which we pointed out right there. These candles around 317, 325. So anyway, for today, markets look pretty stable, so we can do a little bit of traditional stock picking and stock trading based on catalysts. So there's 3, I think, really good ideas today. One is LILM, LILM. We've been talking about for a while. This came on my radar because I had the LTHM on my watch list as a lithium play. And it started with that catalyst that they're doing some kind of collaboration for new lithium batteries for their EV airplanes. And then they had some news the other day about progress on a wing for their plane or something like that. But then this morning, really important news, I think, at least for a trade for me here. They got a new CEO, Klaus Rowe, who had 30 years of experience at Boeing. I believe was it Boeing, one of the big airplane companies, Airbus. Okay, it was Airbus. So 30 years experience at Airbus. And this is could be pretty significant, at least for a trade idea. Now, this is a non-profitable growth company. I don't really have, fundamentally, it's a D-SPAC, came down from like 10 to 270 or whatever. So this is not a long-term pick for me. This is simply a catalyst play. I got in at 269 this morning. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to be prepared to sell by the end of the day. And I'm going to have to pick my spots where to sell. We'll find different resistance levels if it does go, right? If it does go. But it looks like there's support down here to the low 260s. I don't expect it to go down on this news significantly. And if it simply doesn't, go up and do what I want, or if it goes down a little bit, I'm going to sell it. But as I talked about this morning in the VIP trading room, sentiment is one of the 4 pillars, and it's one of the most important pillars in terms of premiums that are paid towards premiums compared to fair valuation, right? If you do a fundamental analysis and say, hey, fair valuation is X, why do you have disparities over that, whether it's a significant premium or a significant discount? It's sentiment. And what's one of the most important factors in sentiment? It's management. And I've seen very often when you have CEO changes, in this case, I think it's the founder of the company is stepping down and become chief engineer. So that's a pretty good change, right? And then I bring this 30-year executive with 30 years of experience at Airbus, and I read his bio and everything they wrote about him, and it looks like a good hire superficially. So that's something that can cause a premium onto the stock. So if you believe markets are efficient, which I do, right, which means yesterday's price was the correct price, and then you get a change in the price based on a delta of new information. So that new information, as long as that new information is actually new and unexpected, right? If it was widely known something was coming, it could end up being a sell the news event, right? But if it's new information and you interpret the impact of that information correctly, you can ride the wave of a rapid re-rating in a stock. That's what I'm trying to do today at 269 when I got in. So that's trade idea number 1 for you. Again, this is not something I'm holding because it's a non-profitable growth company. I did find interesting, though, was checking Twitter this morning, and I noticed this is a holding of Puru Saxena's, who's a growth investor, and it's one of like a dozen or so core holdings he has in his portfolio, growth company in his growth company portfolio. So I found that very interesting, and you can go back and check his thesis on it. It's really not fundamentally rooted in terms of financials. It's just that they're the leader in the EV airplane space, and eventually, the extent of his thesis. But anyway, that's LILM. Now, we had also news on Air this morning. Now, I picked up Air the other day. Was it the 20 DMA break, or is that down here? I don't know. It was probably on one of those days when market sentiment was really bad. I picked some up, and I've been holding it since. in my IRA this morning, they issued a press release. Their year ends on May 31st, right? Which is yesterday. They put a press release out that said, hey, we met or exceeded, right, our prior guidance of $50 million revenue um, with strong profit growth in line with its operating model, right? You see that right there. And then they go on to say, first of all, they're going to be at Craig Hallam today, it looks like. Okay. So they're going to have private meetings. It looks like with institutional investors at Craig Hallam today, and then they go on to talk about as we look ahead to our fiscal 2023, we're very encouraged by our positive momentum we're seeing, and this is in addition to the expected significant additional investment and additional capacity by our current lead customer for silicon carbide wafer. On our upcoming, here we go, fiscal 22 fourth quarter and full year conference call in mid-July. So keep that to catalyst, right? Mid-July, you can see earnings anticipation on there. We'll be providing financial guidance for the new fiscal year with more details on what we feel will be another great year for Air Test. So there's actually nothing new here, right? But that's what, in this environment, that's a catalyst. When companies reiterate nothing new after their stock has, been decimated because of macro concerns, that's actually a very good thing, right? So I believe this catalyst today could trigger a multi-day or multi-week rally, all right, notwithstanding what may happen with the broader market and the Nasdaq. You got to watch that. But as far as if markets are stable, this could trigger a multi-day or multi-week rally. And here we are. This is the 50-day moving average. Let's just confirm. Okay. Right here, it's testing in pre-market the 50-day moving average around I guess around 880, a little below it now. Okay. RSI is not really overbought yet. This could be a swing play. Okay. You got to pick your spots here. I don't think this is something you got to like jump into and buy at the ask right now, 872, although it could be. But, this is something that I may add to get a bigger core position on my IRA today. Going to try to pick my spots, find a good price, because look at the room between the 50 and the 200. That's pretty wild, right? And of course, you have psychological resistance at 10. You have some resistance at 9, right? But over a long-term swing period, these moving averages are like magic. So now let me just switch to the weekly because I think I saw something there too. Let's go. Let's make sure this is the weekly chart. Okay. So on the weekly chart, you got resistance, a declining 20-week moving average approaching $10. So that'll be a resistance level there, key one as well. So yeah, 860, 880. If it closes above that, I think we can make a multi-day to multi-week run to $10, and then we take it from there, probably depending on market conditions, whether it can eventually get to the 200 DMA at 13. All right, so that's a cool one. Probably not one that I'd inclined to like day trade, but maybe one I'm just inclined to add to my core position because I don't have a large core anymore. All right, so I got a small IRA position in that. I think I like doubled it last week, but I may add more to it today. All right. Next, a trade idea for you. We've been talking about this a lot. RIBT. It is a possible breakout scenario today. Technically, 75 to 80 is a resistance area. And I think the target's going to be a quick, rapid move to 1 if it does break out of the 75 to 80 cent range. This morning, there was some news out, not huge. It's not coming through on my news feed, but they're just expanding one of their facilities for animal feed. So that may be a little bit of a catalyst that's moving it this morning. But yesterday, be cautious. Yesterday, there was huge, massive wall at 75 cents on level 2, which is not showing up in pre-market. That seller may be back. So I anticipate some resistance and congestion in the 75 to 80 cent range. But this was the highest close yesterday. 75 cents was the highest close in this entire run. And you see all of these great indicators. It's holding the 20 DMA, bullish 2200 cross, golden 5200 cross. So the ultimate, one of the biggest catalysts I was waiting for here is for Continental Green which is a director on the board, to completely sell out of their position. They had 10 million shares. They're down to 2 million. They're selling because of a conflict of interest because they're on the board of a larger ad company now. So even while they've been selling down from 10 million shares to 2 million shares, the stock has been rising, and that's a big sale. 8 million out of 50 million shares have been sold so far, right? So they are the ones. If they weren't around, this stock would probably be already at $1. They've been on the ass. They've been selling, but yesterday I've been watching the tape carefully. The price action dramatically changed yesterday, and it traded like they weren't selling anymore or they weren't around. So I don't know if they've already sold and it's just maybe they have some time to file that they're down to zero, or maybe I don't know what the laws are with the SEC stuff. Maybe they're allowed to own a very small position with a conflict of interest. I'm not sure, or maybe they have more time in their time frame to sell the last 2 million, but it's trading very, very thin. So I would not be surprised if today's a big battle and retail tries to come in and take out everyone in the 75 to 80 range and have this move to one. I would not be surprised if that happens. But, if you're not already in this, just be a little bit cautious. I have a lower cost average. Um, so I'm just going to hold this and wait for that break of 80. Then I'll start selling. And I'll probably be at least 50% out at like 97 to buck. 97 cents to a buck, I'll probably be at least 50% out. So just look for that. I want to cover a couple other tickers here. Last night on Wolf Spaces, we do the weekly show. Last week, I gave them Zoom and Dario, which were both up significantly for the week. This week, I gave them IPI and ADM, two agriculture plays. Now, look, a lot of other people were going with the bear market rally, continuation of the bear market rally, and thinking the QQQ is strong, and they're into the growth stocks and the tech stocks and the semiconductor stocks, and that may be right and that may be fine. All right, I'm being a little more cautious here because if you look at the Qs, I think there's a chance we can. Although today looks good, all right, but yesterday at the close, I thought there's a chance we consolidate here, and we have a few more down days, and we retest the 20 DMA. I thought that was a possible scenario on the Qs. So on this particular show last night, I got to pick something that's going to do good between now and Monday. Right. So I'm like, if we're going to consolidate for a few days or test the 20 DMA, I didn't want to go with what everyone else is going with the growth in tech stocks that could go down with QQQ. So I said, you know what? Check out these charts. First of all, ADM, Archer Daniels, yesterday broke the 50 DMA. You can see it right there with sky blue above it. All the other major DMAs are below it. That's a strong signal. Okay. RSI is 57 on the way up. Okay. So this is an ag play, PE 16. And then Intrepid Potash, I chose because of the upgrades Moss and CF got yesterday. I didn't see an upgrade for IPI though, but they're all in the same space. So Moss broke the 20 DMA, heading to the 50, got a big price target increase to 85 bucks. Same with CF, got a big price target upgrade. Both these have nice charts, setting up nicely. We see strength in the ag sector, as we see with the RIBT, right? RIBT. So I think these are stocks that could do well if the market kind of goes down or consolidates. And it can maybe do well if the market continues its bear market rally because of the company specific and sector specific performance and upgrades we're getting. So I'm like, let me try to win both ways, right? If the market's good or the market's bad, maybe I could win that competition with IPI and ADM. Now, I actually don't have either of these right now. I bought Moss yesterday or last week. I added to my Moss position, but not yet IPI or ADM. IPI I chose because you get a lot more beta out of this. It's very thin, very small float, and you can see the moves it made before. So if this catches fire, you could get a move from 65 to 81. But we got to be a little bit careful with the ag plays. Let's see how wheat's doing this morning. It says it's critical support level. Okay, so far it's bouncing off it. See, that's a 50 DMA. It's bouncing off. And if you go to the weekly, you can see there's a gap down to the $10 at the 20-week moving average. So if wheat breaks this support, right, it could impact sentiment in the entire all the ag plays. So just something to watch. I think the thesis is very strong still macroeconomically in terms of wheat. So I'm not so worried that that's going to break support. But anyway, those are my plays for last night's show was IPI and ADM. Two more we want to watch. MOGO yesterday, if you're around the VIP chat rooms, you knew what we're talking about. out that the beta app for stock trading and crypto trading is nearing completion of beta, nearing public full release. They're sending emails to people and letting people in, stuff like that. So, according to Niraj, who brought this to our attention, it's anticipated that will come to a full release later this month. Look at this technically. It's at the 20 DMA. It couldn't break through yesterday. Okay. And a MACD flip. If this breaks the 20 DMA, looks like it's a rapid move to $2. And that may happen on news, when they release that this is coming out, or maybe people will anticipate, or they'll see the evidence and the nuggets being shared on social media that the beta is nearing completion, and maybe that's what triggers it to 2. But this is an interesting one because I would say the risk reward as far as a short-term intermediate trade is good. Maybe your downside is around 1, you're at 130, so 30% down, but what's that, like 80-70% up to $2, and we may have the nuggets, right? We may have the catalyst and have a little edge technically, anticipating a technical break. So that's an interesting one on MOGO. There was news out on QUIK this morning. This is one we've had on our watch list since we are looking for semis after AIR did so well. This is an interesting one technically because it's at the 200-week moving average, which is very significant. If it breaks above the 200-week moving average, wow, look at that. This can really spike hard, right? Now, there was news this morning, which on the surface is like, hey, this is great because they've had a series of good news over the last few months. Okay, so here's another one, $3 million. Now, if you look at the details, though, it's $3 million over 3 years. And then they talk about their guidance over here, and they say the guidance remains unchanged, okay, at least for the second quarter. Okay, so just be careful with that. And this is a follow-on order too. This is not a new customer. Okay, so I'm not chasing this at like 684. I don't know this company very well, but based on my read of it, this particular contract doesn't look like an inflection point contract, which could justify a move over the 200-week moving average. But this is something we're watching, and maybe we can learn more about that stock together. SMSI pointed out yesterday, it flirted with this 20 DMA. It was a little bit early, I guess. I don't know. But if markets continue to do well, I could see this having a swing kind of move over a multi-day or multi-week period to the 50 DMA at 313. Actually, I was hoping for a quick move, like in a couple days, right? If it breaks that 20, and maybe that's still coming. It didn't happen yesterday. It's gapping up a little bit this morning, but that's all in the ass, not very significant. But if the markets continue to do well and this bear market rally, maybe you see that quick move to $3 plus on SMSI. So we'll be watching that. And that's all I have for you. So for me, my focus, 3 solid ideas is LILM, AIR, and RIBT. And you can see they're all basically up already this morning. A nice solid bid on RIBT. LILM, I got in at 269. So this is what I'll be trading. And just to recap, LILM is like a day trade for me. AIR is something I may be adding to my core position. And RIBT is like a swing trade for me to the $1 area, but I'll be selling on the way up. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll continue collaborating in our VIP chat room. Have a great day.